shoot, that was awesome. Ooh. Oh shoot, no, it's not. It is a penalty. Power play. We have the most advanced power play strategy in that we have no power play strategy other than play powerfully.
I started learning how to play hockey last year and it became kind of an addiction, an obsession. And so naturally I took my other obsession, audio and video production, and I've tried to merge the worlds of hockey and audio video by creating mic'd up videos.
Oh, there it is. Somehow this ended up in the net.
You might have seen these in other sports or on YouTube, but it's basically where you can put a microphone on a player during a game and hear what they say and what their experience is like. Even though I am talking specifically about hockey in this situation, it is my goal that I can give you enough info that you could apply it to other sports if necessary. But when it comes to hockey, I do have two different ways that I approach the mic'd up videos. One, for me, I play goalie on our team, so the goalie scenario is pretty simple. GoPro stuck to glass behind the net, and the player, if I'm filming somebody who is a forward or a defense person, that's a little different and a little more complicated, so I'm going to show you both methods, and then hopefully you have all the tools you need to figure out how to do this yourself if you want to. Now, I think the most important thing when it comes to making these kinds of videos is to make sure that they do not get in the way at all, that the player who is being mic'd up and filmed is not distracted or inconvenienced by the fact that they're wearing a microphone, they're wearing a wire. You don't want that to mess anything up. Although I will say, I've noticed that for myself and the other people that I've filmed for mic'd up videos, we've all played a little bit better when we're wearing the microphone. And I think that that's because maybe we're like in tune with the idea that somebody's watching and you're kind of like trying extra hard. I don't know.
Thank you. It's the microphone.
There's something to it. It's sort of a magic sauce where people tend to do better when they're mic'd up. Mic up every player on a team, maybe, and you'll be unstoppable. But let's start with the goalie side of things because, like I said, that is more simple. I've mainly been using my GoPro Hero 12, although I do also have my 11, and I can put these at either side of the rink. And the reason I would want to do that, if you're not familiar with hockey, is because it's 3 periods, and you switch each period. So I'd be in one net for 2 periods, but in that middle frame, I'd be over here, and sometimes I just crop in really far in hilariously blurry footage.
Thank you! Oh, that's right, Meg! That was magnificent.
To attach the GoPro to the glass, I've been using this PG Tech suction cup, which is something I talked about in a video where I kind of shared my like underrated video production gear. But the reason that I like this PG Tech mount versus the official GoPro one is it's just a little simpler, and I have found it to be quite a bit stronger and super reliable. So at our rink, we are not allowed to put cameras on the glass inside the ice, because if it gets hit and falls or something, it could cause a problem. So I have to stick it on the outside, and the downside to that is that I then see all the marks and dents and dirt and water splashes and things. It's hard for me to get those out of the footage. Sometimes you can sort of like color correct them away a little bit, adding in some contrast and things. But I try to position the camera where it's at least not horribly obstructed, and I try to make sure that you can see that it's high enough up where you can sort of see me in the net, you can see a little bit behind the net, and of course you can see then the whole rink going forward there. If you are able to place a camera inside the glass, that's even better because then you're gonna get a crystal clear view. And something that I've been wanting to try that I'm not sure if I'll be allowed to do is putting a camera in the net, and I think that would be a net gain in terms of super cool shots. Now, obviously you could do this with any action camera or camera. I'm just a GoPro guy, and I found that the extended batteries get me through a full game. Usually the camera has died, it won't go like a full 2 hours, but our games are about 1 hour and 10 minutes long when all is said and done. Now, like I said, a big goal is to make sure that this does not distract from anything. So what I do is the GoPro actually has an option where you can set it to turn on and start recording automatically at a set date and time. And so I usually set that for a couple minutes before our game is set to begin and just let it run for 2 hours. Usually the battery doesn't last the full 2 hours of 5.3K, but it does cover the whole game and then I don't have to think about it. When we come out for warm-ups, I usually just kind of look over and make sure that I see the red light going, but that's been awesome because when I come into the rink before I even change, as I'm walking to the locker room, I just stick this on the glass and then I don't have to think about it again. I do usually need to set a reminder to remove it from the glass after the game because it's very easy to forget. You bet your glass it's easy to forget this on the glass. Now the other reason I really love using the GoPro in this situation is because the GoPro 11 and 12 have full frame capabilities. So that means I can turn that on full frame mode and it just films everything, and then I can get both vertical and horizontal video from it. And what's really cool about that is once I've edited things together in Final Cut, like say I've made a vertical project, I've edited it is very hard to say, I edited it. Once I've done that, I can then copy the entire timeline and paste it into a vertical project, a regular widescreen project, and everything is there. I might have to go through and adjust if I cropped in or anything. I might have to sort of change that on some shots, but I can get both widescreen and vertical from the exact same footage and the exact same files, and that's pretty awesome. Obviously the GoPro is not the only camera that can do that, but it is a reason I really love using the 11 and the 12 for this. So that gives you the flexibility to then decide if you want something to be widescreen or vertical, and that is radical. If you need it to run for longer, you could of course run this off of like a USB power bank, and I've seen lots of people have their GoPros attached to the glass and then a power bank just kind of resting down on the boards below it. So there are options if you need to go beyond just the battery. So that's usually my camera. And then when I'm doing goalie stuff, this has been my microphone. This is the Zoom F2. I did a whole video about this. This is a really nice little 32-bit audio recorder. When we get to the next setup, I'm gonna be talking about things like the Rode Wireless Pro and wireless transmission systems. There's really no reason you couldn't use one of those with this, but you have to get the media mod and then attach the receiver. I'm going for simplicity here because when I'm doing goalie mic'd up videos, I'm playing as goalie and handling all the audio video stuff, so I need to not have to worry about any of this.
Brandon, can you go to your right a little bit? Other right, there we go. Thanks.
So the camera's set up and doing its own thing. I don't need to think about that. The Zoom F2 is great because it's kind of idiot proof, which is great for me. It's 32-bit float, so basically all I need to do is turn it on, press record, and then it has a physical hold switch. So that means that it won't, if I push the buttons or the buttons get pressed while it's on me during a game, nothing will happen. And because it's 32-bit float, I can't clip the audio. So if things are loud or things get crashed into or whatever, this handles that very, very well.
Yeah! High five, high five, high five, high five. Fist bump, okay.
It's also not terribly expensive, around $150. It's held up really well. Like it still is in perfect shape, and it comes with a microphone. I've just been using the little lavalier microphone that it comes with, and that works great. And the reason I bring up the price is if something horrible did happen, it's the least expensive lavalier recorder that I have. So I'm kind of keeping that in mind as well. And there are no settings to mess with. There's basically just the record button and that's it because it's all 32-bit float. So I typically attach this into my hockey pants and then I tape this to my chest protector, which I'll show you in a second. So this camera's set to record on its own, and the audio recorder usually just kind of when we're heading out to warm-ups, I just kind of reach in where it's clipped and press the record button, turn on the hold switch, and then I'm done. And since it's not wireless and there's no syncing, all I usually do is when we first go out on the ice, I usually take my stick and like smack it on the ice or hit the net with it or something to make a loud sound. And that kind of acts as my clap, so that way I can match up the visual of the stick hitting the ice or the net with the big sound that it would make on the recorder. And then everything is synced. So here's how I actually attach that stuff to my goalie gear. I'm gonna need to wheel out my table here. So now I've got my super stylish pants on. They fit great. This is probably gonna be a little different on every pair of pants and every bit of equipment, but mine have this internal belt here. So when I pull the pants on, I can latch this belt. And now even though these are big and goofy looking, they're actually snug to me because this internal belt is right here. And I usually just clip this kind of right here. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's just clipped right there. And then even when I have all my gear on, I can usually wedge down and, push the button with my finger. And that's pretty much that. When it comes to placing the microphone, I don't want to have any tension, so I kind of just stuff the extra cabling down here. And then the chest protector is 2 parts. So I have my neck protector, and this is actually where I usually do place it. So I usually take a piece of clear hockey tape and put it right at the top of the microphone, and then I put that right on my neck protector right here, and then I usually reinforce it with a few other pieces so that when I put this on, now I've got my mic right here. A couple of times this has come off because my neck protector has some like plasticky parts that sometimes the tape doesn't want to stick to as well. And when it's fallen down, it sort of still kind of gets wedged in here, doesn't really go anywhere. I've never had the audio actually get ruined, even if this does come off from time to time. But then what I can do is just take my actual chest protector and when this is on, look how buff I look right now. And when this is on, now the mic is under here. It feels like it would be muffled by this, and it is a little bit, but it honestly doesn't matter. It sounds fine in the videos.
We got a Bernie. Bernie fell down.
So even when I have this big chest protector, plus my jersey, plus I'm in my helmet over here, that's pretty muffled for this little microphone to pick up, and it still has sounded great overall. So that's pretty much all there is to it when it comes to the goalie side of things. Now, for the player side of things, it's a little bit different because the GoPro is not a great choice. For me as a goalie, I'm the main thing in the frame. It's very obvious this is the person that the camera's focused on, and this is the person you're listening to. When you're filming a player who's skating around the ice and getting on the ice, off the ice, if it's just a wide GoPro shot of the rink, you're not really gonna even know who you're looking at. So that means that I've been trading in the GoPro for a regular camera, a mirrorless camera, and filming things a little more actively and a little more intentionally, which also makes it slightly more complex, but does give better results. So here's pretty much everything I've been using to do that. I've been using my Canon EOS R, and the reason for that is because I have the Canon 24-105. I don't have any Sony lenses that are this long, this telephoto, and so if I'm filming this, it's usually through the glass or from the bench and needing to get as close to the action as possible. It's also a situation where the EOS R's 4K crop really comes in handy because I can have my normal full frame 24-105, but if I want to go even further, I can switch it to 4K and then it crops in, and now I've zoomed in even more. It's almost like Super 35 mode on the A7 IV, but it's less of a feature like it is on that camera, more of a limitation on this camera, but it's a limitation that actually can be super helpful, believe it or not. I do have a small rig cage on my EOS R, which I like and just kind of helps protect the camera. And for a lot of times, which I can't believe it, but I just film like this vertically. And so you might notice here I have my monopod mount because I use this iFootage Cobra 2. And what's great about this is this actually just kind of snaps in here, and now the camera's locked in. So now I have a monopod because an hour or so of filming just holding this gets very, very tiring. And now I've got the monopod, but if I want to ditch this really quick and kind of run to get a different shot, it's got this really nice little quick release. So I quite like this monopod a lot. And it does also have feet on the bottom, which are quite nice, but if those defeat the purpose, you can actually just detach it from those as well and use it like a normal monopod. So I've done all of those things, but this being my main camera setup has worked really, really well. You definitely want something with autofocus. If I adapt this lens to my Sony cameras, it doesn't have autofocus, and the game moves way too fast for me to try to manually focus. I'm gonna miss everything that's interesting. For audio, I take a totally different approach than I do with the Goalie stuff, and I do use the Rode Wireless Pros. So of course it's easy to just pop the receiver on the camera, and then I have 2 transmitters, and you could, with these types of wireless systems, the one where the transmitter is a microphone, in theory, you don't need anything else. You could just attach this to somebody, but at least with the Rode ones and a lot of them, these are still kind of big and bulky to me. And when you put this on someone, it's gonna be that thing where it kind of gets in the way. And even if someone is wearing their shoulder pads, it might not hurt, but if this is sort of connected to them and then they crash and do something, now you have this other thing that could push into them, not only potentially damaging this, which is more expensive than the Zoom F2, but also you don't want to, hurt anybody, of course, either. So I feel like that gets in the way a little bit, and I usually just end up taking the lavalier microphone from the F2 and popping it right on here on the Wireless Pro. Fortunately, the Wireless Pro does have a locking mic jack, which is great, so that way you don't have to worry about this becoming disconnected. Same with the Zoom F2, it also has a locking mic jack as well. And then this usually goes somewhere in the player's pants, and I kind of do the exact same thing as I did with my goalie gear, with the player chest protector, take a bit of hockey tape, put it around the mic. I usually put it right in the middle of the chest. And I found that this pound mark or hashtag style of taping seems to work the best, so hashtag reliable. So then it just kind of looks like this, and when the person wears it, it's just right there, right under the jersey. And player helmets and masks aren't as muffling as the goalie one is, so this usually sounds quite clear and easy to hear. And of course, the benefit with something like the Wireless Pro and a lot of these newer systems is that they have 2 transmitters, so in theory, you could actually mic up 2 people at the same time, which totally up to you if you want to do that, but it's a cool option to have. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is if you're not miking up yourself and you're miking up somebody else, they might not know how any of this stuff works or be familiar with it at all. And in my case, sometimes I'm miking up female players, and so I can't like go into the locker room with like camera and microphone and stuff. So what I've done is I actually took a photo of this on my chest protector, and then I text them this photo and say like, hey, here's the microphone, this is how you want to tape it, and someone else in the locker room can help them as well. Or you could also just have them come out of the locker room without their jersey on, and then you tape it like on the bench with them, and they can put on their jersey and go. So just kind of, anytime you're working with cameras and microphones in locker room situations, be very careful and very aware of what's being recorded and where, and everybody's, comfort and privacy levels. And then the last bit of the puzzle is actually just my old earpods here, because since I'm filming here, I can monitor the audio that way, which is actually really funny because you can hear everything that the mic'd up person is saying, but they can't hear you. So sometimes like I've had people scream really loud when they score a goal or something happens, and then I hear them go like, I'm sorry, I forgot you had your headphones in, and I can like give them a thumbs up from the other side of the rink. So it's kind of funny, like the way that you can communicate. It does sort of feel like it's an undercover spy thing, and it's super fun. Now the reason I do this instead of using the F2 like I do with the GoPro kind of has to do with syncing. With the GoPro, it's just recording the whole time, the audio's recording the whole time. I just have the whole game and I just chop it up and edit it afterwards. In this case, I don't want that much mirrorless camera footage. I don't want the full game mirrorless camera. And when you're filming a player, they're not even on the ice the whole time. They're on the bench, which is sometimes where really funny and interesting things happen. In my case, what I do a lot, and another reason I like using the EOS R for this, which like the A7 IV would be good too, is I can switch from photo to video mode. So a lot of times what I'll do is then start also taking photos. So that way, not only does the team get a really cool mic'd up video afterwards, but they also have some photos. Most adult rec league hockey players don't have like cool photos of themselves playing hockey. So when you send those to people, they usually really appreciate it. It's usually kind of a super special thing. So all that to say, what I end up with after filming these videos are just like a whole bunch of different clips. And so having these wireless units run directly into the camera means that the audio is synced to every clip as soon as it's recorded, and I don't have to do anything but kind of scrub through the clips. You usually end up with less footage to go through. I do try to pay attention to, is the person I'm filming doing something that looks like it's going to be interesting? Don't stop filming then. Is there a play that's moving towards the offensive zone? Cool, I probably want to film that. There are also other times where it's maybe less likely that something interesting is going to happen, and those are good times to not film, switch my location, take some photos instead, or whatever. So you kind of, you're sort of developing that game sense along with your audio video filming sense. It all makes sense. As I said at the beginning of this video, there are a bunch of different ways to achieve this goal. If you want to mic up someone during a sports game, there are tons of different ways to do it. I wanted to share these two because one of them is super simple and involves syncing the audio afterwards. One of them is a little more complex, but does give you better results, and then also you don't have to sync the audio afterwards. So you can mix and match and pick and choose and come up with your own game plan for how you want to film your games, man. And speaking of games, there's no games here when it comes to my thanks to everyone who helps support my channel through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. And definitely check out these videos here if you want some more tips and tricks that are kind of related to this, especially my Zoom F2 review, because it is such an underrated, awesome little audio recorder. The F2 might be for you.